so we can carry on.
Okay. Good morning, friends. Welcome to the Wednesday episode. And my name is Tara and I do daily vlogging. On Wednesdays, I normally have my husband next to me and we discuss different topics that we think might be interesting for you. And can you actually pass me my supplements? I forgot to take them. I will take them in between of the conversation. So last time we've been discussing marriage and why we don't fight. And the video was cut off. Unfortunately, my phone died in the middle of conversation. Not in the middle, but closer to the end. But anyway, and we started to talk about that there are some benefits in actually dating or marrying a person from a different culture, and then my phone died. So I thought, why not to continue this topic? It doesn't mean that we always will discuss relationship, but if it is interesting, why not, right? Because we truly enjoy our marriage, and from the very beginning, for us it was very fast and very simple and very, clear that we want to be together. And yes, we had our ups and downs, maybe not too crazy, but we had some kind of moments when we've been shaping our path as a couple, because you meet a person and you have your own mindset, perspectives, dreams and ideas, and person has its own, and there is this shaping process in the beginning. But here we are, and we truly enjoy. So far so good.
Yep.
So basically what I wanted to say at that video, that I found that I see some benefits in marrying or dating person from the different culture. A little bit of information, right? So I'm Ukrainian, born in Ukraine by Ukrainian parents. My husband, he's Canadian. Born in Canada, and but raised by parents, I could say, with a British background, kind of like
Commonwealth, they call it.
Commonwealth cultural code, let's say like that. And we're not too different, right? But we have different. We almost have the same religion, but just like I'm Orthodox, you're Anglican, a little bit different countries, a little bit. But what I found that when I was dating or talking even with guys, when I tried to build relationship with guys from my culture, I realized that sometimes it is hard because, for example, me as a woman being raised in that culture by those parents, I have a certain patterns in my behavior that sometimes I even don't recognize. For me, it's kind of like natural, the way how I talk or the way how I, sometimes. Anyway, and for guy, for the same culture, he grew up at the same thing, and he kind of have the same traumas that I have. So sometimes my words or the way how I talk could provoke in him different reactions based on his childhood trauma, something like that. And I found that, or maybe it's because of my husband's personality, I don't know, we can discuss it, but uh, in our relationship, I found that I can be myself without fear that I might trigger him, you know, like that he might react on my just, you know, regular words, how it happened before in my relationship. So I found that because he has absolutely different parents and he grew up in absolutely different environment, he doesn't actually react on some of my patterns from my background. And the same me, when he behaves certain way that like, I don't know, might provoke a reaction from Canadian woman, I guess, I don't react, because you always say that I never actually react when, not never, but like, you know, like, yeah, maybe you will keep going.
You don't seem to get upset about the things that were common experiences with some of the North American Canadian woman that I had dated. Yeah, certainly there's some differences there. Yeah.
Maybe loud.
Yeah, there's some differences there. I don't know how much of that is cultural. Certainly there are differences in culture that make a big impact on relationships. And how much of that?
So?
And how much of that? Yeah, we can talk to that. And how much of that is just where each person is at, right?
Yeah. So there are multiple components that affect, right?
Sure.
The relationship.
Certainly, there's characteristics of certain cultures that are common. Some maybe don't mix as well with others.
Yeah.
But what do you think? Canadian maple syrup and pierogies from Ukraine. Put your maple syrup on the
pierogies.
Is it gonna mix? I don't know.
Actually, I can imagine. It's like caramelized onion, you know, on top of pierogies. Works well.
Sweet one, I guess. I've always found culturally, it's interesting for me, who's grown up in a North American culture, in every typical way that you can expect. It's interesting for me to date and have relationships with people of different cultural backgrounds, different cultural backgrounds, because it just makes it more interesting for me, because there's differences and expectations. Not all of those expectations are good, by the way, but they're different and they're unique. For me particularly, I believe there's certain cultures that are more traditional. Certainly a lot of the Asian cultures are more traditional. South Asian culture is very traditional. The European, perhaps more Eastern European, very traditional in their values, like family values, and a consistency, like traditional values perhaps, in their understanding. If you are a guy that, what's the word, gravitates, that moves towards those things, that just becomes important to you. So maybe it's more about, is there a congruence, is there a matching of values, versus maybe someone who's North American, who's a lot more independent, who has different values, who looks at the world differently. So I think for me it was less about that particular culture and more about, are the values that are common in that culture something that I enjoy and something that I like. I mean, a lot of guys in North America, they're like, hey, you know what, you want to find a good woman, you got to go to another country, because they believe that the mindset of a lot of North American women are just, it's a tough one, right? So
tough for the guy who is looking for certain things, right?
Sure,
because
sure.
Not like they're fine, it's just like maybe your how to say, values doesn't match.
Yeah, certainly. You know, guys men are pretty simple when it comes to women. Not all men are like this. Sometimes you find some very rare amazingly rare man who's just like that prince that you read in fairy tales, but it's usually not the case. I think men will look, especially more and more these days, they'll look at a woman and say, you know, this woman is the kind that I date, but not necessarily marry. And then there's the woman that'll be like, you know, this is marriage material. I think what happens, the problem is a lot of time you end up dating someone who you think, you know, you just end up dating them and hanging out with them, and you kind of just move into a long-term relationship when it may not be the best thing.
Because you're kind of afraid to be alone and this person is okay.
Yeah, or
right?
just, you know, it's good enough. Maybe there's a better option out there, but for now you just get comfortable. You get comfortable with the convenience of the relationship. You get comfortable with the financial condition of the relationship, which, for example, two people living together is a lot easier than one person trying to make it on their own. You get comfortable with someone being there. You get comfortable with the sexual components of the relationship, all those things that are important to people.
Yeah.
And people make sacrifices and give up things that they probably, you know, it's not ideal for them,
Yeah.
but they're willing to sacrifice this so that they can have that, right?
Do you think it's a good thing to sacrifice?
No.
Yeah, doesn't work in the long.
But it's very common, and I know why people do it.
Yeah, but you know, I think that I'm a lucky one, or
Very lucky.
or I just been on the right frequency to attract the right person, let's say, because so before I met you, I was dating or kind of trying to find kind of connections with local guys here in Canada, and I found a huge how they call it difference between our not cultures, but how I forgot the word. Oh my gosh, sorry. Like not mindset, but
Belief?
Not belief, but like
Values?
how they call, like we have different cultures, but different word. Anyway, like
Like example, like what?
like I found that people in Canada absolutely different behavior to compare with Ukraine, because for me it was so complicated to understand what guy actually think, because you guys are so polite, you know. You never tell. And when I met you, I was like, wow, it looks like he's talking honestly, and I kind of can understand what does he think about me, and like, you know, more clear conversation, because mostly I just and believe me or not, 90% of girls who trying to date local Ukrainian girls who try to date local guys who've been born here, you know, like who grew up here, not like immigrants who came and it's like they knew. No, who grew up here, who was born here. It's hard. It's hard because of the difference, you know. In forgot the word. I'm sorry, guys. Anyway, and yeah, like dating could be tough with the people from the different country.
Well, you know, people from various countries have different values. They have different different things of importance. In some cultures, it's really important to them just to keep their parents happy.
And language barrier, sorry, you know, like language barrier and like cultural barrier could be tough one.
You know, there's two factors I think that are significant, and why you have been lucky. Number one, kind of depends what generation you're from. And let's look at the young people. When I say young, let's say under 25. Young people today, they're living in a TikTok, Instagram, selfie generation, where so much of what you see is not even really real, where there's this expectation or this images that are pushed of how life could be, and how you can live like this fancy way with this kind of woman. And you see women that have done 1,200 photos to get 2 good ones to put on Instagram. It's just not a realistic image of what life is and of what you can expect out there. And it must be very complicated for younger people to look at that world, look at the world, and kind of really get an honest picture of what's available or what's out there for them. Likewise, for women who are watching this, where they have this expectation of, oh, this is the kind of life I want, and if they don't, they want to find someone who give them that life. And I feel sorry for that generation. I'm a little bit older than that, so I come from a place that have different ways of looking at the world, and I think why it's so difficult for women in general to find a good guy is because the other thing I have going for me is that, yes, I had parents who were immigrants from a Commonwealth country that have traditional values, who say, look, you treat your wife this way, you treat your relationships and your woman, the girl you're dating, you treat them this way, you take care of them that way. You need to, always be a gentleman. You need to always, do these things and not do these things. And there's certain things that you do and certain things you don't push and certain things you don't ask. And so there's some values there and there's some ethics that are just not that common with a lot of men. And women are, someone told me, they say, we had been in a long-term relationship and we split up and went our ways. And then later they were joking. They said, if I knew that it was that hard to find a good man out there, I just would have stuck with you, So my point is that because there's something to be said about, look, this younger generation is unfortunate, but they don't, there's not a lot of guidance. There's not a lot of direction. There's not a lot of goals in what they really want. And it's hard. I mean,
as well, you need to understand this. I just want to say it's hard for you or for person who want to live in a traditional world, where roles are clear. Mm-hmm. But maybe new generation, they really grew up in a different time, and maybe for them, like the level of normal, what is normal right now, it shifted. Like for us, what is normal is different.
Yeah, I understand. Like if you're a younger person, even like let's say under 40, maybe under 50, and you're trying to buy a house, your parents or your grandparents knew that they could buy a house and own a house. Like a lot of people think like, man, there's no way I'll be able to own a house. There's no way I'm even buy an apartment. Depending on the city, I'm going to have to move to some country town. I'm going to have to move to some other country. How am I ever going to afford this kind of lifestyle? So there's a lot of dreams and hopes that, 1 or 2 generations ago had that were just normal common beliefs. It just seems so far away for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And so, it's hard to have that kind of clarity, I understand. But when you find a person in a relationship, regardless of their culture, that has those things in order, that's becoming, I think that's really important.
Yeah.
And then to recognize the fact that, hey, there's some very cool things about different cultures. I was, some Slavic woman, or there's certain behaviors and cultures is like, holy smokes, I have no idea they make such a big deal out of this, or I had no idea that this is so important, or I had no idea that it gets so serious right away. And I met your friend was dating a Canadian guy, and she's also from Ukraine, and she was like, he came up to me the first time we met, he said, I just want to know, like, do you have the same things that in this relationship that I do? Like, I think we're just casually dating, but she just thinks like I'm like her life partner or her boyfriend. Like, do you get the same thing? Like, I don't understand these women.
Ukrainian girl, when she met a good man, she already married him in her head. Anyway, what I want to say in the end of this conversation, because we need to be a little bit, in the time frame. I want to say that a lot of girls been asking me about like, look, how do you manage language barrier? Because, okay, now I'm better in English, okay? But in the beginning, I was good, but still, you know, you have this, it's more like your inner feeling of unconfidence and worry, you know, that when you try to explain something to your partner and like, you know, your language is not perfect. And like for a lot of people, I found language barrier is a huge, big deal. But what I realized, you know, I realized, sorry, maybe can I finish? That when a person wants to understand you in any language, you know, you even can talk to the person your native language. And if person genuinely wants to understand you and find a connection with you, it doesn't matter, you know, which language you talk. Important is to find a person who genuinely interested in you and want to understand you. And in this case, language barrier is nothing.
Yeah. There's a hack on ChatGPT. You can choose love mode on ChatGPT and then ask it to translate. And it'll do a great job for you.
I didn't know about that. Okay, guys. See you tomorrow. Now I'll go to ChatGPT, turn on my love mode. Okay, thank you so much for being with us today. Hope you enjoyed. Comment down below if you have similar situation as ours. Multicultural marriage, or you've been trying to date person from different culture, your experience, you know, how does it work for you? We're interested to listen to your stories. It's so satisfying, you know, to see how people connect.
Sure.
I love it. You want to say something?
No.
Okay. Yeah, okay guys, thank you for watching. Bye.
You know what I was thinking is actually universal among all languages and all cultures, and it works in all cultures from what I understand. Maybe there's some places like it doesn't work, but I think high heels works in all. For the woman, it's not the guy.
Sorry, but for the guy. What?
Not for the guy. No.
For the guy.
High heels works in all countries. Maybe not in Dagestan.
2-3 years to Dagestan and forget.